What's up, everyone? The Roar here. I just want to take a minute kind of address some questions, especially about the video that I posted yesterday morning. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing for me going out there. I heard on the news that protests and riots had erupted, and I made the split-second decision to grab my camera and get out there and film it. You know, it was a historical moment for our city, and I'll tell you why. Anytime protests erupt in DC, it could be a historical moment because, first of all, the protest area where people protest is within blocks of the White House. So they are noticed by the president. And of course they're noticed. Of course they are. Because they'll immediately be notified that, hey, protesters are outside. So to be heard, that is where the peaceful protests started. Then Antifa arrived. When Antifa arrived, that's when all, excuse my language, hell broke loose. Antifa is a group of anarchists. They are funded, actually, that there's still ongoing questions on how they are funded. Depending on what side of the aisle you talk to, they have different theories. So I'm not going to talk about what my theory is. But Antifa showed up and immediately started throwing bricks. Immediately started confrontations with the police. Those confrontations erupted into a small little pushback because they were right there in front of the White House, and then they got pushed back an entire block back from the White House, where I was. Where when I did the video, I was riding my bike, where you saw the glass break in front of the White House deli. That street is where the protesters were pushed back to, and they were pushed back to not by SWAT team, not by the National Guard or DC Police, by the Secret Service. The Secret Service had their own crew that is almost as big, probably, as the state's National Guard. But they were out there with tear gas. They were out there with the bulletproof or the shields. DC Police on the other side of the street, closing down the other side to protect some of the historical areas that were there. You had a church. The church almost got burned down. There was a fire at the church. That church that I showed was, I don't know how far back, but every U.S. president has attended service at that church. I think as far back as Kennedy. Maybe even before that. Sometimes you can even see that was the church that Obama and the Bushes were filmed in front of, or took a picture in front of during their transition. It was also the church where, basically when there's inauguration, right before the inauguration, they have service at that church the day of, or the Sunday before. And also both the incoming and outgoing president arrives there for the service. I don't know how long that is. That church is old, though, but they vandalized it. Started spray painting on it. I think they tried to light a fire, and it almost caught, but DC Police was on top of things. DC firefighters were on top of things and got it out quickly. When I arrived there, in the beginning of the video, when you hear me, you can hear explosions. There's like 3 or 4 explosions in the beginning of the video you can hear. Those were I don't want to say car bombs. They were, they set fire to the cars, and I guess the gas tank, the heat got to the gas tank and caused an explosion. Basically, the car was a bomb, basically. And three or four cars, I think, got affected. Now, I didn't want to show this on video because the guy was concerned. But when I was leaving that night, there was a guy searching for his car on that same street. And I told him what happened. He was doing the panic button to try to hear it. I says, where did you have your car? It was a block up, which is where the cars were lit on fire. DC police got there, they put the fires out, and they took the cars away all within like 5 minutes of them on fire. So, again, awesome job for them. They did a phenomenal job, the DC firefighters. But I hope his car wasn't affected in that. I hope he found it. But I told him what had happened, and he basically was, because I'm gonna look. He said he was gonna look for another hour and then chalk up, say, hey, maybe that was one of my cars. But I didn't want to get that on video because I wasn't trying to make it entertaining. I wasn't trying to do any of that. I was trying to document what was happening. And I just felt that guy's pain looking for the car was not appropriate to be in a video or anything else. But I hope he found his car. I really did. But, going on from that, it was just an unreal event. I personally has been born and raised in this city. I love this city. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. But when things like that happen, it absolutely puts a mark, a stain, that people think this happens a lot. And it doesn't. This is the second time since I've been around that it has gotten that bad. Well, third time. The first time was the Trump inauguration. Antifa again showed up and started wreaking havoc, causing damage and everything else. And I want to explain to that those are not the peaceful protesters. The damage is coming from Antifa, and we need to understand that. And states, and what's the word? We just labeled Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, which I kind of think it should be. I think it's absolutely wrong what they're doing. And if you look at the time I'm actually doing the video, right, you're not going to know that, actually. It doesn't tell the time when I posted it. But the time right now is 7:40. And there has been a curfew in Washington, D.C. since 7 o'clock. Every day this week, I believe there will be a curfew at 7 o'clock, which means if you're on the streets in D.C., you're risking being arrested. So I encourage you to please follow the guidelines, follow the curfews. I'm going to get out of Dodge for a while because not only is the city in protest and riots happening in the city, but the suburbs too. The suburbs are being rioted, and the closest, like on the other side of the city is happening. Down south, just slightly south of me, is Prince William County. Their courthouse caught on fire last night from the protesters. And when you have a curfew of a city, where are they going to go? They're going to go to the outskirts, So I'm I hope this will all die down. I hope we can all come together. But I think it's going to be a while. I also want to let you know that, I don't know if you guys heard, but Trump has ordered the National Guard. Well, actually, the states have to order National Guard. The National Guards in most states are already out, but Trump has said that he's going to put out the military. And I'm kind of worried by that, because I hope this doesn't end badly. And if you are a protester, get the hell home. Be safe. Protect yourself. Follow the curfews. If you're protesting, I support the peaceful protesters. You obviously have to protest. But do it safely. And if you are out there, please be safe. I'll see you guys next time.